Good afternoon, YouTube pipe smokers. Prairie Piper here, late afternoon on Saturday. Going to just show you some of my Christmas tobacco tins, and I realized I don't have as many as I thought that I did. So I'm also going to combine this video with some Christmas books that I like to read and display during the month of December. So let's get going. First up is Kringle Flake, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. I don't have the 2019 tin, which was a straight red Virginia. I'll get a hold of one. I'll trade somebody in one of the forums, but I need that to finish the start and finish the collection. So all I have is the 2020 version of Kringle Flake, and this was red Virginia with Perique. Like I said, the original 2019 version of Kringle Flake was just a red Virginia. The second year they came out with a red Virginia with Perique. Aged, I should say, 17-year-old Perique. And then in 2021, Kringle Flake was also red Virginia and Perique again. So they doubled up on that. And 2022 was stoved red Virginia and Perique, aged Perique again. Very, very old Perique. So, and last year's Kringle Flake was red Virginia with Perique again, but they used stoved Catarini, an Oriental in there, and they changed the logo. So you got Santa Claus there smoking a pipe. That's classic. So 2 weeks ago was the release of Kringle Flake 2024, and I wasn't able to get it, order a tin. Not only did it sell out very quickly, but there's a postal strike here in Canada, so there's no mail moving. So the vast majority of what comes in internationally is through Canada Post, and they are on strike. So Canadians cannot order any tobacco and have not been able to in the entire month of December, which is pretty depressing. So if I go to smokingpipes.com, it just says currently no shipping to Canada. So which really sucks, especially since that might be the last Christmas tin of from Salt Life, the Kringle Flake, because they've gotten sold, and by all accounts, it sounds like they're going to be shut down. Now, I'm hoping that maybe somebody else steps in and buys them. Maybe they allow the company to purchase themselves and still, to still retain that rich history that they've got down there. I mean, it's like 160, 170 years old, so it's kind of sad that STG just wants to wipe them off the map. If that's true, we'll see. There's a lot can happen between now and the next year or two. So hopefully something unfolds there. But anyways, that's how it looks. Moving on to the second set Christmas tin is classic plum pudding, which is a Latakia mixture. I'm sure a lot of you know that's quite a popular blend. This is the Christmas Spirit 2023. And this is a plug, and I haven't opened this yet. But I hear this is this 2023. Apparently they're not doing they didn't, or they're not. I don't know if unless it comes out next week. That Salt isn't doing a Christmas Spirit 2024 either. So I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. But it's I heard that they weren't releasing it this year, so it's kind of sad. The last Christmas tin that I have is a classic, and I was gonna do a review on this and open it up and smoke it, but it's pretty cold here today. I'm having trouble keeping the heater struggling in the garage, so that's why I'm not smoking. Or I would be doing a review on this. This is Hermit Tobacco from 2003 Christmas blend, and you don't see tin art like this anymore, I'll tell you that. That's classic. Happy holidays. Frosty with a pipe, with a scantily clad blonde on his lap. Very nice. This is the Captain Earl series. Now this tin was made in Pioneer, Ohio by Hermit Tobacco Works before. I don't know if they went out of business and then C&D bought them, but C&D makes, they bought the catalog. And they were making this for a while, several years ago, I think for Hermit Tobacco Works. But anyways, it says Captain Earl's Holidays blend is blended in at Easter time, stored in antique containers until October, then hand tinned each year. Each year, the holiday blend is a different blend of the highest quality vintage. So it's, let me go over that again. I kind of stumbled. Um, it's blended at Easter time, and then in October, it's tinned. So pretty cool. Let's get into some books. I think what I'm going to do, maybe the next review might be, I'm going to crack this open. So it's a 2003 Virginia. So I might crack that open and do a tin review next week. We'll see, kind of keeping with December and our Christmas theme. Here's some books that, like I said, I just have laying around the house, coffee tables for when guests come over, that I like to read. I don't religiously read them every December, but I like to have them out just because they're festive. Here's a classic. 75th anniversary, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Some beautiful illustrations in here too. I'm not gonna, open them up and show you. You guys, I will show you one in here because it's a pretty classic picture. Here's the Clement Seymour, obviously a classic, The Night Before Christmas, and of course, he's got his pipe. This is a lot of beautiful images in here. It's a nice big book too, but let me show you one that was one of my favorites in here. Here he is, Santa Claus. So it's a big book. You can see, big illustrate, big text. This is a classic. You got the kitty cat, Santa smoking a pipe, and of course, a little glass of brandy or some sherry up there, maybe port. That's a classic. If it's at Christmas time and it's Santa and Frosty, they have to have pipes. Make sure if you're interested in some of these books or, you've always thought about going on and getting them, some of these are cleansed. And what I mean by that is they don't have pipes. People have actually removed the pipes from the pictures. Which is kind of sad. This is another one of my favorites. J.R. Tolkien, The Father Christmas Letters. They used to call, interesting fact, Santa Claus used to be called Santa Claus, Klaus, German, in England until World War One. And because England was at war with Imperial Germany and the Kaiser, you couldn't have a German Santa. So Santa Claus was essentially replaced by Father Christmas or Saint Nick. So this is a really, really cool collection of letters that Tolkien wrote as Father Christmas, as Santa Claus, and then illustrated himself, and actually illustrated the card, the envelope is what I'm trying to say. So you can just take a look at, here's the letter here. So this is the letter. And why can't I, there. So you can, the letter itself, the way that it's written, I mean, if you can't read that, they provide the text on the other side so you can read it in regular print. But just the art, the letters, I mean, almost looks like a medieval script, right? And then here is the actual letter. Look at again, the calligraphy is gorgeous. He's actually, that's a stamp. It's not a real stamp, but he's illustrated, painted the stamp on the outside of the envelope too. And that says, to the Tolkiens at 20 Northmere Road, Oxford, England. And he did this for a few years, 4 or 5 years. Santa Claus wrote the kids letters about what was happening in the North Pole with penguins, and there's a whole cast of characters. A polar bear is kind of the main character, but really, really cool. And again, like I said, he painted these illustrations in the cards and the letters. That's the original version, I think, from 83 or 84. I'm a bit of a collector for some of this stuff, especially Tolkien. So I had to have the original. But you're probably better off getting the newer version. This is hardcover. The newer version, for whatever reason, it has more letters and more illustrations than the original. So, I mean, I guess maybe over the years that was published, like I said, early 80s. This came much later. And they must have found more letters and added them to the book, so which is kind of cool. So again, if you're not so concerned about the collective aspect, don't bother with the original, especially paying inflated price on eBay for it. Just go on Amazon or your local bookshop at this time of year. Should have the Father Christmas Letters by Jared Tolkien. And then we move on to Jerry Bowler, who was a university professor at the university I went to, University of Manitoba. And he wrote a book on Santa Claus. And it's about 215 pages, very well researched. Not academically written, so it's accessible. Like, it's a fun read. Published by McClelland and Stewart, which is a big publishing house here in Canada. Highly recommend this. There's a few of them out there, but this one, not only is it, I didn't know the guy personally, but he was one of the professors when I was at U of M, and very well known, very well respected. And it's a good read. It's an easy read, but it's very well done as well. It's got that academic, academic research behind it, but it's still an accessible book. And then he also wrote, so this is Jerry Bowler's Christmas in the Crosshairs, 2,000 Years of Denouncing and Defending the World's Most Celebrated Religion. This book is a little bit more academic, but still very, very accessible. And if you kind of thought that Christmas was waning over the years, read this book. It will restore your faith that Christmas has kind of been under attack for a long, long time. The Soviets tried to erase Christmas back in the 20s when they came to power, and they called it a winter festival, and they changed everything. And one of the first things people did when the Soviet Union collapsed in, was it 1991? Everybody went to church. Christmas was back. It never really went away. People were still practicing it. So really, really cool book. Academically researched and done, like I said, to Professor Bowler. This is available on Amazon, just like a few of the Santa Claus, and he's got several other books too. But I enjoy these Christmas ones. This one I just started just a couple of weeks ago, and this one's called A Mile of Make Believe: History of the Eaton's Santa Claus Parade by Steve Penfold, who's an associate professor at the University of Toronto. This is published by University of Toronto. This is interesting. It's definitely academic, you can tell. It's a little drier. Jerry's a little bit more of an accessible writer rather, but for readers than this one. I am enjoying this one. It's about the Eaton Santa Claus Parade here that was started in Toronto and Winnipeg in 1905. It was one of the largest and longest Christmas parades in all of North America. And interesting, even the Macy's Parade. Macy's Parade only started, I think it was 1923, 1924. And the owner, I don't know if he was the owner, but Macy's actually came to Toronto to see the Eaton's Parade, and really got the idea to do. There was lots of other parades around. I mean, this wasn't the only one, but this is one of the 1905 was one of the earlier, largest ones at the time. And so I don't know if it's the president or the owner of Macy's basically went to Toronto in the 1920s, saw the parade, took that idea back, and decided to base some of what the Macy's Parade was at the time, at least in the 1920s, off of the Eaton's Parade, which is kind of cool. He also talks about, I guess Eaton's was, Eaton's was for our international viewership here. Eaton's was like the Hudson's Bay, Sears, Macy's, a big department store here in Canada. So it's gone now, much like Sears is gone in Canada. I think Sears is still around in the States. But this was Canada's kind of preeminent department store. So really neat. Pictures in here kind of bring back childhood memories. This was a big deal. I remember it. They stopped doing, I think, in the early 80s in Sorry, the last parade was I think 1982 in Toronto, but Winnipeg had stopped I think in the 60s. But I mean, you see lots of pictures, and um, over the years I've seen lots of pictures and stuff. So it it's interesting if you like that kind of stuff. Lastly, and we'll wrap this up. No Christmas would be complete without um, A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens. This book here is actually the original manuscript edition. So it has on every on the left hand side of every page, it actually has the original manuscript, um, which you can't really read because I mean, the handwriting is difficult to read. I probably wouldn't purchase this again, but I do have the original copy. This was like $9.99. This is the original, what the original looked like. It's a facsimile of the original. And what's really cool about the Christmas Carol, we love the movies. My wife and I, we watch them every December. There's lots of different ones. Scrooge with Bill Murray is a classic, right? And Bobcat. We also like the Jim Carrey version. That one's fun, but also some of the classics from the black and white ones from like the 50s and even the 40s. But the movies kind of miss out. Dickens wrote this not overtly. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not the Christmas Carol is like Christian allegory or if it looks just a story. I personally do think it's probably Christian allegory. I mean, the three spirits that come to visit him, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? Three. Um, I think it's kind of a story of redemption, but it's if you read the book, it's so much more than that. I mean, the movies are great, but to me, they miss the element of spiritualism um, from the book. So, there's stuff. I didn't want to start quoting the book, but there is stuff in the book that's again not overly religious, but when you think about it, it's kind of a story of um, it's not just like some old guy that's grumpy, and then at the end he sees the light of day, and he sees how poor people live, and he just he sees that what a jerk he's been. It's a little bit more deeper than that when you read the book. So I challenge you, go back and read the book. Um, and you'll probably pick out things in it that I don't even want to say the movies gloss over, but you'll probably just have a much more appreciation for it. It's 84 pages with some illustrations, so it doesn't take that long to get through, and it's just really a story of redemption, in my opinion. Right? Kind of, sort of, Christmas Day, right? The birth of Christ is when Scrooge has his revelation, so to speak, of becoming another man. He's kind of reborn again, right? It's not a coincidence that it's done on Christmas Day with the birth of Christ, right? The end of winter solstice is 21st, right? I know that's the darkest day of the year, but this whole idea that on the birth of Jesus Christ, right, the 25th, at least symbolically, is when Ebenezer Scrooge has this moment of redemption and um, enlightenment, that he can still be a different person. He can be saved. So I don't think that's an accident. Anyways, um, yeah. So I do read that. I do read the Christmas Carol every December, and I challenge you to go ahead and read it. You can get cheap copies, and it's such a great story, especially for this time of year. Anyways, I'm blabbing on. Next week we'll see if I'm going to crack this open after 20 plus years and do a Christmas review. Until then, enjoy the weekend. Saturday night here. Got some family coming over. I got to go cook dinner and have a glass of wine. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Prairie Piper out.